Look at your plate right now or the last meal you ate. Chicken breast, ground beef, maybe some fish, neatly packaged, boneless, bloodless. Your ancestors would not recognize this as food because for millions of years, meat wasn't something you bought. It was something you fought for, ripped apart, cracked open with rocks, and the amount of meat in the ancient human diet is far bigger and far bloodier than most people realize. 3 million years ago, your earliest ancestors weren't hunters. They were scavengers and not even good ones. Lions killed, hyenas fed next. By the time a small, upright ape wandered up to what was left, there was almost nothing. Skin, splintered ribs, and thick leg bones too dense for hyena jaws to crack, but those bones held a secret. Marrow, fat, the most calorie-dense food on the entire savanna, sealed inside bone that no other predator could open. Your ancestors could. They had one weapon nothing else on the plains had, hands precise enough to grip a stone and smash that bone open. This wasn't a side dish. For a starving scavenger, cracked open marrow was the difference between living and dying. Scavenging kept them alive. But it didn't make them human. Somewhere around 2 million years ago, something shifted. Early humans stopped waiting for leftovers. They started hunting. This is where the body starts changing in ways scientists can still measure today. Longer legs built for endurance running. A body built to sweat efficiently, something almost no other mammal can do, which meant early humans could chase prey for hours in blistering heat until the animal simply collapsed from exhaustion. This is called persistence hunting, and it's brutal in its simplicity. No claws, no fangs, no speed advantage, just relentless pursuit until biology won, and once they had spears and later spear throwers. Hunting stopped being occasional, it became central. Modern hunter-gatherer studies back this up. Groups like the Hadza in Tanzania can get 30 to 60% of their annual calories directly from animal sources, meat and fat. For an early human on the African savanna, meat wasn't a treat. It was the highest value food source on the entire landscape. Here's the part most people never think about. Meat didn't just fill stomachs, it rebuilt the human brain. Around 2 million years ago, brain size in our ancestors began expanding at a pace never seen before in any primate lineage, and brains are expensive. Your brain right now burns roughly 20% of your total daily energy, despite being just 2% of your body weight. You cannot fuel that kind of organ on leaves and bark. Meat and fat are dense, concentrated fuel, exactly what a growing brain needs. Anthropologists call this the expensive tissue hypothesis. As meat consumption rose, gut size could shrink, because meat is far easier to digest than raw, fibrous plants. That freed up energy, and that energy went straight to the brain. In other words, the brain that's reading this sentence right now may only exist because your ancestors fought hyenas for bone marrow and ran antelope into the ground for hours in the heat. Let's kill the Instagram version of this story right now. There was no campfire, no seasoning, no neat cuts of meat. Early humans tore into carcasses with stone flakes, hands, and teeth. Blood, fat, and dirt were all part of the meal. Organs came first, not steaks. Liver, kidney, brain. These spoil fast, so they were eaten immediately, often raw. They're also some of the most nutrient-dense parts of an animal, packed with vitamin A, B12, iron, and fat. The muscle meat you'd recognize as meat today was often the last thing eaten, not the first. This is where fire changes everything. Once early humans mastered cooking, likely by around 1 million years ago, maybe earlier, meat became easier to chew, easier to digest, and safer to eat. Some anthropologists argue cooking meat was just as important to brain growth as hunting itself, because it multiplied the calories the body could actually absorb. Now here's where we have to be honest, because this is where a lot of modern diet trends get it wrong. Not every ancient human ate this way all the time. There was no single caveman diet. There were thousands of them, as many diets as there were environments on Earth. Diets varied hugely by region, season, and era. Coastal groups ate massive amounts of fish and shellfish, sometimes building entire settlements around a single reliable oyster bed. Desert-dwelling groups leaned harder on roots and tubers during lean seasons, digging for anything that could survive underground through a drought. Forest groups gathered nuts, tubers, and insects in staggering volume. Insects alone made up a significant part of the diet in many tropical regions valued for their fat and protein, and hunts failed constantly. Meat was never a guarantee. Some studies on modern hunter-gatherers show hunters coming back empty-handed more than half the time, sometimes for weeks in a row. A single missed hunt could mean days without a proper meal. So the honest picture isn't humans only ate meat. It's something more precise and honestly more interesting. When meat was available, it was prioritized above almost everything else. It was the most efficient, most calorie-dense, most prized food source available. Pound for pound, nothing else came close to giving the body that much usable energy for that little effort. And the human body and brain evolved around getting as much of it as possible, not because meat was constant, but because it was rare, valuable, and worth building an entire physiology around chasing. That's the part diet trends tend to flatten. The story was never really about one food. It was about a species built to prioritize ruthlessly, adapt constantly, and survive on whatever the land was willing to give. So what does this mean for you eating your neatly packaged chicken breast tonight? Your body still runs on hardware built for that ancient reality. You're craving for fat, your body's efficient use of protein, even your gut length shorter than a herbivore's, built for meat digestion rather than fermenting fibrous plants. All of it is a direct inheritance from millions of years of prioritizing animal fat and protein. Even your stomach acid is unusually strong compared to most omnivores, tuned for breaking down animal protein and killing off the bacteria that come with it. That's part of why modern carnivore and high-protein diets tap into something real. Your biology hasn't forgotten what it was built for. The satisfaction you feel after a protein-heavy meal, the way it curbs hunger longer than a plate of pasta, that's ancient machinery doing exactly what it evolved to do. But it's not the whole story either. Your ancestors also ate seasonally, ate what was available, and went without meat for stretches at a time, sometimes for weeks. Their bodies handled that shift too because they had to. Balance, not extremism, is what actually got them through. Next time you eat a steak, a burger, even a boiled egg, remember what it cost your ancestors to get that same nutrition. No grocery store, no refrigerator, no shrink-wrapped package waiting under fluorescent lights. Just persistence, brute force, and a body built over millions of years to chase, crack, and consume. A single meal might have meant hours of tracking a spear thrown by hand, or the patient work of smashing open a bone just to reach the marrow inside. Marrow that early humans prized as much as the meat itself. Meat didn't just feed early humans, it rewired them. It freed up energy that once went toward digesting tough, fibrous plants all day, and redirected it somewhere far more expensive to run, the brain. It built the brain you're using to understand this sentence right now. Every thought, every idea, every ounce of the reasoning you just used to follow this, that traces back to a trade our ancestors made again and again, choosing calorie-dense food over the easier, safer option. If this changed how you think about your next meal, you'll want to see what happens when we look at what our ancestors drank. Because the answer might surprise you even more.